Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, or welcome if this is the first episode that you're listening to. My name is Maggie, and I'm 22. I'm starting this podcast because I just want to vent about my life and document things happening in my life. And if you find that any of the topics that I discuss are relatable, I would love if you left a question or left a comment that I can answer in my next couple podcasts. With that being said, today I'm going to be talking about my hoe era. I think it's just exciting to talk about, if you go through a man-eater or hoe era, it's just fun. So I hope that you have fun listening. I also want to say that my podcast episodes are going to be available on Spotify now as well, so that if you don't want to waste your data listening to me talk for 30, 40 plus minutes and waste your battery life and waste your data, totally understand. You can download it on Spotify now and just listen to it offline, and hopefully in that way it'll help you save your battery life. Okay, on with the topic for today. So I'm gonna be talking about my hoe era. I'm gonna be talking about my first intimate experience, and that's where we're gonna start. So in my senior year of high school, when I turned 18, I made a Tinder account, and this was just for a silly goofy time with my friends where we made accounts, we'd swipe on people, and then we would kind of just make fun of guys for their funny bios, and it was a good time. But through that, I ended up matching with this guy. We're gonna name him Elliot, and he went to college in my state. And I'll be really vague with this too, because I think my close friends know about who he is, but I'm gonna keep it vague. That's all I'll say. So Elliot and I were talking for a span of 3 months before we even met each other in person. And I would say it was pretty nice. There was flirting here and there, and there were conversations here and there. It was really nice. And I remember when we first met each other, it was in the middle of the winter, kind of February, March, or I guess that's reaching the end of winter, but it feels like the middle of winter in Minnesota. And we ended up getting boba. He got me boba, and then we went to his place to watch a movie, and we watched Train to Busan. And I remember one of the first things he said to me was, your voice is a lot lower than I thought it would be. And I was like, oh, is that a bad thing? And he was like, yeah, no, I like it. And ew, I kind of made myself cringe by saying that. But yeah, that was one of our first interactions with each other in person. But we ended up watching Train to Busan, drinking my large taro milk tea. He was so nice for getting me a large. And we actually watched through the whole movie before anything happened. And I think that happened because he gave me a pillow to rest on my back. And then I stupidly put the pillow in between us just because it was comfortable like that for me. But I think that gave him the nonverbal message that don't get close to me, don't touch me. And so I felt bad because I was like, oh fuck, I'm giving mixed signals. And I find that I still kind of do that now. My most recent ex, I remember he told me oh, the first time we met, you didn't even look at me. And I was like, don't fucking lie, I looked at you. But now that I really think about it, I think I only looked at him once. And then I didn't look at him for the rest of the night. Or not look at him, but make eye contact with him. Anyways, back to my Elliot story. Finished Train to Busan, and then we kissed, and then we started making out, and then we had sex. And I remember it was a really good first experience for me. I'm just gonna say that. And I feel like I lucked out, and the reason why I feel like I want to say that is because I feel unfortunately a lot of girls experience their first intimate experience and it's not good, and guys are shitty, and it shouldn't be that way, but unfortunately sometimes it is. So that's why I say that I lucked out. Did I say this already? We ended up seeing each other for a year from that point, kind of on and off. We weren't seeing each other super frequently, but when we did, I would I did a lot. Like, well, I guess I did a lot as in, that's how some people would deem it, but like, I was cooking meals for him, and it wasn't just like, oh, like, make you some soup or something. I was like making full ass meals, like, made him egg rolls, I made him like a cold noodle dish, I made him curry, like, I was bringing food over for him almost like every single time I saw him. And that's just to say that that was like my biggest love language. Like, when I really love you or when I really care about you, I just want to cook for you. And I just want to make sure that you're eating well, and whether it's me cooking food or me buying you food, like, I just want to know that your tummy is full and you're happy. So, not to get all soft and lovey-dovey, but like, that's one of my biggest love languages, and I think that probably just translates into like acts of service. But anyways, yeah, that's what I was doing. I was doing a lot. I remember buying him a candle once, and let me tell you this, I was so down bad that I was literally like, I was either Ubering to his place, not his house, or else I was taking the train to his place. And I remember he always offered to like give me a ride home, but I was like, oh no, that's okay, like, you don't have to. Anyways, that's all I'll say about Elliot. We actually still talk, and we're still, I wouldn't say like super good friends, but like we touch base every now and then, and he's doing really well and I'm doing really well, and it's a good time. So that was like my very first, that's where we're starting off this podcast. Is, I think that it's a very I really cherish, I want to talk about this experience first, because I think that even now, like, it's an experience that I really cherish, and an experience that, like, 18-year-old Maggie, like, really needed, because what she was about to experience in college was a shit show. And I know if you listen to my last podcast, you know how that went, my freshman year ex. It was bad, so I don't even know how, like, the standards were set pretty high, my first intimate experience, and then I just dropped them down to the grave, like, when I started dating my ex-boyfriend. It was bad, but yeah. I think, like, Elliot and I actually had a conversation later on that it was kind of just like an unspoken kind of expectation that we both knew that it just couldn't go beyond like friends with benefits. But I do truly feel that had we both been in a similar life situation, a little closer in our like experience in life, then there could have been something there. But that's just not the case. And I mean, I just say that because that's kind of how it was back then. I think that he's a really good friend now, and no, I still really care about him as a friend, and I know and I hope that he's just doing super great. So he really kind of set the standards, and then Maggie being really young and naive, like, I couldn't uphold those standards in a relationship. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so that's me and my interaction with Elliot. And then from here, I went to college, and as you all already know from the last podcast, I got into a relationship that was really bad. It was really toxic. I should have broken things off at the 3-month mark when I had an icky feeling in my tummy, but I didn't, and I ended up being with this toxic little bitch for a little under 2 years. It was bad. I'm not gonna say that there were not good times, because there were good times, but when you have that few good times with like a whole toxic relationship, it really just, it puts a sour taste in your mouth. So I'm not even gonna talk about that because I already talked about it. But from there, I entered my like full-on man-eater hoe era. I was sad for a little bit over the summer, but then I lost a lot of weight out of spite. You know, that canon event breakup, like, it just changes you. I ended up losing a lot of weight over the summer, and I was going on a lot of dates. I was on the dating apps. I was talking to guys, flirting with guys, And it was a good time. It was like, I felt so fucking hot and I felt so free, and I was like, I'm on top of the world, like, do whatever I want, kind of. And I actually ended up hooking up with one of my middle school friends that, honestly, I can't remember, like, when I had found him attractive. I always thought he was really nice. We're gonna name him Andrew. So I always thought Andrew was really nice, and we used to, like, draw together in middle school, and we used to do a lot of creative things. And I always thought that he was super cool. But I think, like, the first time that I was like, God damn, he's attractive, was, like, when he came back, because he was doing, like, a program for college, and he came back, and, like, I was studying out in, like, our, like, a common area in our high school, and he was coming to sit in on a class, and like, I remember seeing him, and I was like, oh my god, Andrew, and oh my lord, like, I was like, oh my god, you're so attractive. And, like, I'm getting all, like, flustered talking about it, because he really is attractive, and, like, even with Andrew too, I'm still friends with him, like, distant friends, like, I don't talk to him, like, all the time, but, like, it was one hookup. Really, he's a really amazing friend. But yeah, I remember, like, I was like, oh, I'm feeling silly, like, I'm just gonna message him and be like, oh, like, if you would ever be down to fuck, like, I just want to let you know, like, the offer's on the table, right? And when I was in my man-eater era, I was so fucking bold, like, did not give a shit about you, like, are you on my roster? Because if you're not, why are you talking to me? So that was kind of, like, attitude that I had during that time, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of mean, and that's me at heart. Like, in my heart, I know that I'm a lover girl, but my heart was shielded up during that time, and I was just having a silly, goofy time, and it was fun. But anyways, yeah. Ended up hooking up with Andrew. And even for him, I made curry. I made food for him, and I gave it to him, and we hung out, and then we had fun. That kind of fun, and then we just went along our way, and, like, we're kind of just, like, passing friends in the distance, you know, like, silently support each other. But he's a great guy, and I'm really, really also proud of him and what he's doing right now. Super great. That's all. That was, like, the only mentionable story of when I was in my hoe era, to be quite honest. And then I went into my junior year of college, and there were, like, a handful of guys that I liked, and a handful of guys who were, like, attracted to me and, like, trying to hit me up. But something about, like, the guys in my college are just not it. And, like, I know one of my friends is listening to this, and they're like, you fucking bitch, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You were attracted to so-and-so. And I'm already getting scared for you to listen to this, because I know who you're talking about, because I have a bad cannot speak. I have a bad track record with Pisces men, and somehow, no matter who I talk to, they end up being a Pisces man. And I think that I've just accepted that it's my Virgo rising, and I just attract Pisces men. It's what my astrologer said to me too, is that I was like, I don't know why I attract Pisces men so much. And she said, oh, like, what are your big three? And I was like, oh, I'm a Scorpio sun, Libra moon, and Virgo rising. And she said, oh, it's your Virgo rising, because the descendant of a Virgo rising is a Pisces. And so that makes sense. I've come to terms with it. I accept it. I will just say I have a love-hate relationship with Pisces men. But I think that I've only interacted with underdeveloped Pisces men, and that is why it's not been a good experience for me. Sorry, let's get back on track. So, in my junior year of college, I had a guy come over that I'd been talking to. I feel like most of the guys that I hook up with, I talk to on, like, a long, kind of like well, quote-unquote long-term basis. I actually do like having conversations with them. Like, even though I was in a, like, let's just have sex and leave mindset in this time in my life, like, it was nice. It was nice to talk to them. I'm probably not making any sense. But anyways, this guy who lived in, like, a couple cities away, like 30 minutes away from my college, he came over. And in my junior year, I was supposed to go to Japan, but it got canceled because of COVID. And so I ended up I got put into a single in one of the dorm rooms on campus. And so I called my junior year single my sex dungeon, because that is quite literally what it was. I don't think that I had that many guys come in and out of my room, but it was enough to be called a sex dungeon. I surely was not having as much sex as my down one door neighbor, who I would literally hear fucking his girlfriend so hard and loud that I, even with my AirPods blasted walking down to the bathroom, I could hear them going at it. Good for them, honestly, but also, like, you got a bunch of freshmen around you. Anyways, yeah, this guy came to my dorm room, and it was like, the sex was so amazing, and I just have to whisper it because I don't know who's listening to me right now, but oh my lord, guys, like, it was so good that my Hmong tapestry, I'm Hmong, by the way, my Hmong tapestry fell off my wall when we were, like, having sex, and it was just so, like, I think, like, probably, like, top 5 best sex experiences. But then, like, I never got, that's the one thing also. It's like, I get good dick, and then I never get to experience again. And the universe is like, I'll give you this one taste. Like, you can't have this for the rest of your life. So anyways, that was also, like, an in-college, like, mentionable story as well. But after this, I feel like I entered my, like, football man era, like, to the extreme, and not to the extreme, but I'm exaggerating. But what I mean is that there was an underclassman who had a crush on me, and I'm sorry if you can hear scratching. I have my dog in the room with me now, but he had a crush on me, but, like, he would only talk to me through Snapchat, and I was like, I'm sorry, like, we go to the same college, we see each other on campus, but you don't want to talk to me when I'm on campus. So, yeah, there's no way this is gonna happen. Maybe I should have cut him some slack, but honestly, I was like, come on, like, he was always bailing on me when, like, we were supposed to get lunch or, like, a meal together, because that's how it was on my campus. Like, everyone's so goddamn busy. Like, the only time you get to see your friends at this point was, like, planning a meal together or, like, planning a weekend, like, party or something, right? So that's kind of where it gradually got worse and worse for me. So he really liked me, and I felt kind of bad too now looking back at it, because he invited me to his room to watch anime. He invited me to his room to watch anime, and then I stood next to his doorway with my arms crossed the whole time, because 3 of my friends actually they lived in a triple on the 2nd floor, and this guy lived on the 3rd floor. And I was hanging out with my friends, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go see this guy for, like, an hour or something, like, actually talk to him in person. And he was like, oh, do you want to get comfortable? Like, do you want to lay on the bed? And I kid you not, I stood by his doorway for an hour, and we talked, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go now, because my friends are waiting for me, and I actually told them that, like, I wouldn't be too long. So we hugged, and then we said goodbye, and then he was like, oh, you should come over, all of this, blah, 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 like, when do I get my Maggie time? And that gave me the ick, because I said, I don't even get Maggie time. Myself, I don't even get time with myself, and you're asking when you get your time with me? I'm offended. But this is where it got really bad, and I think, like, I really hurt his feelings, and I do feel bad looking back at it, is, I asked him if his, their football lead, what do you call them? I don't know. I was like, oh yeah, like, do you know, like, so-and-so? And he was like, yeah, I do. Like, he he's like our captain. Oh, that's the word I'm looking for. Our football captain. I said, oh my god, do you know if he has a girlfriend? Guys, just fucking kill me now. I'm so mean. Yeah, that's what I asked him. And he left me on red because of that. And honestly, it did what I needed it to do. Like, I just wanted to get this guy off my back. And this is just my preference. I don't like to date guys who are younger than me. It just makes me feel like a mommy, and I don't want to feel like a mommy. But anyways, yeah. But from there, I actually did start talking to this football captain, which is crazy. I was like I said before, this was my, I was very bold at this point in my life. So I hit him up, and I was like, oh my god, like, I think that you're really cute. Like, we should get, like, coffee together sometime or something. Ugh. Honestly, I look back at what I did, and it was bold, but also I'm embarrassing myself. He was like, oh my god, like, I think you're really cute too. And so we got coffee together. And we're gonna call him Eddie. So, like, Eddie was actually super adorable. Like, kind of gave, like, bear daddy vibes. He kind of gave that, like, very warm, kind of like someone you would want to cuddle up with in the winter kind of energy. So we went out for coffee together in a coffee shop in town and just, like, talked, got to know each other. I also cooked for him. Do you see the pattern here? We made noodles together, like carbonara noodles, and it was a good time. And, like, talking to him was really nice. And then, like, I can't remember if we hooked up once or twice. He made it really clear that, like, he didn't want to be in a relationship, and I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. Like, you're a senior, you're gonna graduate soon. But then, like, things were going well, but then we hadn't talked for a bit, and then he hit me with the, like, oh, hey, like, I hope you understand, like, I just want this to continue as, like, a platonic friendship, like, I hope there are no hard feelings. And I was like, oh, like, that's totally fine, like, totally fine by me, like, we don't have to do anything sexual together. And then we just, like, we didn't talk, and I was honestly kind of waiting for him to set the tone, because I was like, oh, you know, like, maybe he's just going through something and, like, he needs space, so I'm not gonna bug him. And, like, I guess I didn't want to come off as, like, clingy or anything, because I'm like, yeah, he just wants to be friends, right? So we didn't talk for, like, a good while. But then I found out from one of my friends, like, oh, and this is just word of mouth, I don't know if it's completely true, but apparently he was, like, trying to get with one of the girls on the softball team in our school, and that's why, like, he wanted to stop talking, or, like, stop doing sexual stuff together, which was fine by me, right? But then it got to the point where, like, we had just not spoken for, like, basically, like, a whole term. And, then he hit me up. But he hit me up at a time when I had already deleted his number. Because I was like, oh, like, that, I guess we're not friends or anything, right? So he texts me. And he's like, oh, hey, like, how have you been doing? And this is the next term, right? And I remember I was out shopping for groceries. And I was like, whose number is this? Like, I swear, like, it looks really familiar, but I don't know. And I said, I'm sorry, who is this? And he was like, wow, brutal. Okay, like, I'll just pretend that I never sent that. And I was like, well, damn. Like, you're the one who didn't talk to me for, like, 3 months. I know it goes both ways. But also, I was like, you know, I said everything was okay, and then you just left me on red, like, months ago, right? So that's when he, like, unfollowed me on everything. But yeah. That's the end of that. Like, it really didn't go anywhere. I felt like I feel like I'm like a dog chasing its tail, you know, like, just not getting anywhere with it. But that's kind of how that situation ended. So we went from football player to, well, we actually didn't play too much, I think. The first football player, because he had, like, an arm injury, a shoulder injury. So we went from football player to football captain. And then I said, let me one-up it. Just let me one-up myself, okay? And at this point, I had hit a point where I was like, I want to get off the dating apps. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, I can go focus on myself. And so I was just casually scrolling through Hinge. And then I got a notification that this guy liked me, and I actually kept this guy. I haven't actually thought about a nickname for my ex yet. So, let's just call him, let's call him, damn, I don't know a lot of names. Let's call him Kevin. Okay, we're gonna call him Kevin. So, Kevin ended up liking me on Hinge. And I actually left him in my little liked piles because I was like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know if I'm feeling him or not, right? But then, maybe a day after, I swiped on him too. Or I liked him too. And then we started talking. And at first, like, what I really liked was, like, he actually wanted to have, like, a conversation with me, which is really nice. I didn't think much about our first interactions, because at one point I remember I was working, and, like, at this point I had my notifications on Hinge off because I didn't want to get a bunch of notifications while I was studying. But I remember he was, like, asking me questions about, like, my homework and, like, some art stuff that I was doing, and I remember feeling like, oh, like, why is this guy asking me so many questions? And now looking back at it, I was just like, damn, you're mean. Again, right? My inner monologue. Just like, wow, why is this guy bothering me so much? But then comes one night when I'm free and I'm like, oh, like, do you want to, I was wondering if you want to, like, hang out tonight, right? Like, if you're free. He's like, oh, yeah, like, I do, but, like, I get off work around, like, 9-ish, right? Or 8:30-ish or something. Said, that's totally fine. So I ended up hanging out in my sex dungeon, waiting for him to get off work. And we were supposed to go walk out to the arboretum on my college campus and smoke a joint together. And when he did get there, like I said earlier, he said that I didn't look at him, and I denied it for a long time, but I think he was actually right. I looked at him once and I was like, oh, hi, like, nice to meet you, right? I can't remember if I, like, hugged him. I don't think I did. We just immediately started walking to the Arboretum, and it was actually a lot colder than I thought it was supposed to be that night, and so we were kind of, like, shivering on the hill when we got out there. It was a beautiful view, though, but it was so cold, and the strain that I had, too, made us go, like, nonverbal, basically. And I could, like, my plan, let me say this, okay? I wasn't planning on bringing him back to my room, and so I also didn't clean my room. But my level of messy is actually pretty clean compared to other people, but it looked messy to me. We were sitting out on the Arboretum, and it was getting cold, and I could tell that he was shivering, and so I was like, oh, like, do you want to go back now? And he's like, yeah. So we were walking, and he was kind of, like, stumbling, because it was, like, pitch dark out there. We go back to my room, and, because I didn't want to send him home high, because I was like, oh, I don't want him to get in, like, a crash or anything. So we ended up watching a movie in my room. We watched Insidious, and he dogged me for so long because he was like, oh, it's a terrible movie, right? I ended up dating Kevin for a little under a year, and we hooked up that night, and it was good. It was a good time. And then I was like, oh my god, like, I think that I like him. And so we started seeing each other more regularly. And I would keep all my friends on my close friends' Instagram updated. But I was actually working on campus over the summer, so we got to see each other then as well. Because he was working as, when I said I was going to one-up myself, he was working as a football coach at the sister college. And so I was like, oh, football player, football captain, and football coach. Oh my goodness, Maggie. Anyways. It wasn't my intention for it to end up that way. But anyways, we got to see each other over the summer, and he would come over to where I was living on campus. We would watch movies together, and, like, he would stay over some nights. And I remember me telling him, like, oh, like, I'm such a lover girl, right? Like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, like, casual thing, because, like, there was no label. Like, we were just seeing each other. And, like, yeah, you guessed it, I was cooking for him, too. And, yeah, I don't think we started officially dating until, like, sometime in July. And, mind you, we had been talking for, like, 2 months before that. Well, I guess it wasn't that long then, I guess. we started dating in July, and it was a good time. Like, he was there in my college town until the end of December before he had to go back home to, I won't say where. But it was a really good last couple of months that he was there. Like, just being able to spend time with him, and like I introduced him to my friends, and this is kind of like with him. When I met him, I came out of my whole era completely, and like I was like, oh my god, like I'm a lover girl, like I just want to love somebody, be like, you know, cuddly and intimate with somebody. And so he was that for me, and like I really, like, I know my friends are gonna dog me for this, but I almost want to make like a separate podcast to really talk about like my experience with my first love, because I really do truly feel like he was my first love experience. Like, the level of intimacy that I felt with him and experienced with him felt like a soul connection. And I don't know, like, yeah, he just meant a lot to me. And this is not even my hoe era anymore, because it just trickled down into like Maggie becoming a lover girl, right? But goddamn, like, he made me feel some type of way that I feel like I've never felt before, like on such a strong frequency. Okay, enough about Kevin. That will be for my next podcast, which will probably be kind of short, because that's just me wanting to vent about my ex and the connection that I feel like I had with him. Anyways, my friend Nectary would, when I was in my whole era, she would always like make fun of me, like poke fun at me, because she's like, oh, you walk your bitches out, like I don't walk them out. Like, I'm like, you know your way out, right? But for me, it's always been, I think in my whole era, it's meshed a little too close to my lover girl era too, because I'm like, well, actually, no, I'm not gonna say that, because it's just treating them like a basic human. And if I hooked up with someone and I was at their place, I would want them to walk me out too. It's kind of like what you learn in kindergarten, you know, like you treat others the way you want to be treated. And I think that's how I wanted to be treated. Like, if I'm coming over to your place to hook up with you, whether or not the sex was good or not, I'm gonna walk you out, because I don't want you to trip on your way out, or I don't want you to get kidnapped or something, you know? Yeah. But I feel like this is always where my podcast, and I don't have any more stories to tell you, and if I do, they'll probably trickle out in the next episodes that I talk about. But these are just a handful of experiences that I've had when I was experiencing things for the first time, when I was going through my hoe era, when I was going through my lover girl era. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'm gonna be posting more frequently, because I feel like when I'm at work, I just have so much time to think about, like, oh my god, like, what do I want to tell them about now, right? And like, if you're someone who's a regular listener, like, I really appreciate you listening and interacting, and it's just really nice. I just want this to feel like you're like on the phone with a friend, and like they're catching you up on the tea because you haven't seen them in a long time. If there's anything else you would want to hear me talk about, please let me know. I would love to talk about it on my podcast. And yeah, thanks for listening. I will see you all next time.